Maybe I shouldn't call you or leave a message at all. So I'll try to be patient, 'cause nothing's written on the wall. Yeah, it's too soon to mention how I've begun to feel that I want your attention. This time it is for real. Oh baby, love me like you did last night. I wanna hold you till the morning comes. Oh baby, love me like you did. Love me like you did. Oh baby, kiss me till I see the light, like you did last night. Like you did last night. Could it be that I'm lucky to have found someone who is just as crazy as me? Or is it just in my mind? Yeah, it's too soon to mention how I've begun to feel that I want your attention. This time it is for real. Oh baby, love me like you did last night. I wanna hold you till the morning comes. Oh baby, love me like you did. Love me like you did. Oh baby, kiss me till I see the light, like you did last night. Like you did last night. Come back to my place, we can dance the night away. My heart is screaming out for you. I want you here with me so that everything will be as good as they were last night. Oh baby, love me like you did last night. I wanna hold you till the morning comes. Oh baby, love me like you did. Love me like you did. Oh baby, kiss me till I see the light, like you did last night. Like you did last night.
Well, welcome everyone. Shush. Not you, my watch. How do I put this on? Hang on, I've got to make this so that it goes quiet. I think I can put that on. Do not disturb. On. Here we go. Happy New Year, everyone. I'll turn this down a little bit. Yeah, Happy New Year. First show for basically for this year. Should be back now permanently. We've been on holidays and weddings and things like that, but I won't be back next week on Saturday due to the fact that I've got a wedding. So that's why I've been sort of not here. I've been shooting weddings and things like that. So I am hopefully going to be back now permanently around this time each day, each week, I should say. So it's good to be back, basically. But like I just said, I won't be here next week due to the fact I've got a wedding. So Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you've all had a great start to the year and you're all healthy and well. Got a few interesting stories to sort of talk to you about today. I am having a little wine, actually. So it's nice. Say hi in the chat if you are here. Be good to see who's actually here. At this stage, it'll give people a chance to know that we are back and we're live because it's been so long in between live shows. It was, I can't remember, I think it was around a month ago. So it's been quite a while since I've actually popped back on live. So I've got a few things, particularly talk about Panasonic as well that we can talk about. Now today, hopefully this is going to go okay. Let me know in the stream too if the audio and everything's okay, because I've had to send back my ATM2ME, which is my streaming device So I'm actually streaming directly now from the Mac. I'm using my A7 S3 for the first time, and also using the 24mm 1.4 GM lens. So I'm hoping everything goes okay, because I've never done it this way, where the Mac is doing everything, including using Ecamm Live rather than just streaming through the ATM. So let me know if everything's okay. Because that'll help me, say, yeah, it's good. The audio's in sync and everything else. So it'll be interesting to see how it runs, particularly because I'm shooting in 4K. So this is coming through 4K directly through the Mac. So it's going to be interesting. Now, it's saying over here that the bitrate is lower than recommended. I don't know what that means, because it comes up all the time. But we'll have to just see how it goes, and whether it starts stuttering a little bit as we go along, but we'll see anyway. So let me know in the live chat if that is an issue. Let me know how the audio is, and also how the quality of the video is, because I'm curious to know, going directly live like this with 4K. So let's see who's here anyway. Roger just gave a clap. He said, let me just bring this over. Let me check that this works. Now, how do I make that bigger? I think I've just got to drag it, don't I? Yeah, like that. Put it up here somewhere. Roger just clapped. Tom said, hello, David. Happy New Year. Good to catch you live. Yeah, like I said, it's been a while since I've been on live again. It's just been hard to get on. I've been very, very busy. So I've also been really getting back into music as well. I actually always played in bands and things like that when I was younger, and I'm getting right back into it. So I've really been enjoying it. So some of my time has actually been spent doing that. I've actually been setting up I'm thinking about YouTubing that, my sort of growth back again. So that might be something that I'm doing, because I just love music so much. So anyway, that's what I've been getting into. Roger said, any thoughts on the new Sigma 60 to 600? Yeah, I'm going to talk about that, Roger, as one of the shows, as one of the stories coming up today. So I'll let you know when we get through that. The Happy Clam says, everything looks and sounds great. Well, that's good. So, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, Gilbert's here too. It's interesting because this is a much simpler setup. So, all that other stuff I've got. But like I said, you know me, I like to push boundaries, and I get a little bit bored as well sometimes. So I like to try and sort of do things that are sort of out there. So, but like I said, I'm doing this totally through the Mac. It's amazing what the Macs can do, that I can produce this in 4K, but as soon as I say that, it's going to start spluttering. Matt said, Happy New Year, stream looks good and sounds great. Gilbert's here too, so it must be late for you, Gilbert. I don't know. I haven't got the time for New York on here. For England, I mean. Nice to see you, Gilbert, anyway. Hopefully we'll be coming out to the UK sometime this year, we're hoping. I am DeBrown is here as well. Wow, who is that handsome host? Is this a new channel? I know it's been a while. I am back now. But like I said, only for this week. Next week I'll be at a wedding, but then I'll be back the following week after. I may do Sunday as a live. I'll just have to see what's going on. Gilbert said, hey, rock and roll. Hit the like button. Let's give David some support. Thank you so much, Gilbert. So we've got a few things that we're going to go through. Now, if you're coming in later, I'll hopefully put a timeline in that you can just skip to a story that you're interested in. We've got a few different stories to go through with rumours as well. Let me just make sure that that's right to go. Yes, it is. So what I thought we would do is, let me just answer this too. Mod Film says, looks good. Just after 12 o'clock here, Gilbert's saying in the UK. So, all right, so let's get stuck into some of these stories. Now I'm going to have to set this camera up. So bear with me while I turn over, because it's set up a little bit differently. I know it worked. Oh, there we go. I didn't think it was actually going to work. So the Panasonic, this is a really interesting story, actually. It's been out for a while. Like I said, this was actually January the 4th that they put this on Petapixel. But one thing that was missing with with Panasonic's particularly, is the fact, I'll just switch back to me, was that the cameras themselves have always been very, very good. Everyone that's followed me for a period of time would know that I used to use a GH5. And I loved it actually, particularly for stills. For stills, it was really good. The focus was amazing in stills. But the issue was, well, as soon as you went to video, you get the strobing, and it's an issue because it wasn't using phase detect autofocus. Their version of the focus was a problem in video. Like I said, super quick in stills, and I have even put a video up about that way back where I shot a girl called Ellie, and that was really good. And the images are really, really nice. So one of the reasons why I sold that whole system was because of the autofocus just wasn't good enough when I was dealing with video. Because I do this run and gun type shooting where it's doing video and stills at the same time, I had to rely on the autofocus to be very, very good to enable me to do that, because sometimes I just can't use manual focus if I'm doing stills and video at the same time. If I was only doing video, for instance, it's not an issue, but if you are doing both, you need to be able to trust the autofocus that's there. And the problem was with the Panasonic, you had that sort of shooting between the background. It will look at the background, then it'll go back to you. Look at the background, go back to you. So it's constantly sort of shifting focus like that. And that was the issue with the Panasonics. Image-wise, they were fantastic. Great cameras, great software. When I talk about software, like great menus, great updates and things like that. So when I saw this, I thought, wow, it's starting to get interesting. I was wondering why it took so long for them to do this, because they finally brought phase detection AF to the Lumix cameras. Now, this is the S5 II, I think it's called. So there's two versions of it. There's actually the S5 II and the S5 IIX. The X is going to be the sort of, like the super duper one that has more features in it. But they're basically saying the wait is finally over after years of subpar contrast-based detection, and that's what they call the autofocus that they were using was called contrast-based autofocus, and it's terrible for video particularly. That's why most videographers, when they were using something like the Lumix cameras, they use manual focus. Like I said, for stills, it's not an issue. It was super quick. So anyway, they've put this into these latest cameras, the S5 II and the S5 IIX. And I'm just going through this. I haven't looked at this story either. Like I always do with you guys, I like to actually look at the stories with you. I just find it's like, sitting around a coffee table going through some sort of stories together. So it's just saying that the two cameras are marginally different from one another, separated mainly by the high-end video specification. So one is a hybrid one, yes, they're both hybrid cameras, but one is more specialized in video. And so we'll look at that as we go through. They do include the first Panasonic Lumix, mirrorless camera sensors to utilize phase detection autofocus, and it's just called PDAF. Thanks to what the company describes as a newly developed 24.2 megapixel 35 full frame sensor. And I'll leave these links down below so that you can have a look at these stories as well. But from what I've seen online, so I've looked at a few of these videos online, and the autofocus seems to be really good. Like, it's actually really good. I think we've got to the stage now where, look, Sony used to be so far ahead, but now we've got to the stage where Canon, Nikon, Sony, now even Panasonic, Fuji, the autofocus is so good on all of these cameras now that it doesn't really matter any longer which one you purchase. You're going to get great autofocus with all of them. It really just depends on what lenses you'd like to use. Sony still has a massive advantage if you're dealing with lenses, obviously, because we can use all these third-party lenses that are out there as well. But that's one big massive advantage that Sony has, particularly. So it's sort of getting interesting now. Anyway, they're saying that additionally, Panasonic says that the PADAF capabilities are made even more dependable thanks to an evolved autofocus system. It calls this phase hybrid autofocus that that increases the AF points on the sensor to 779. Now, it's not only that, though. It's the stabilization in this camera is nuts, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. There are some videos there that you could watch. Like I said, I'll leave this down below so you can have a look at that if you wanted to check that out yourself later on. They're just saying that once it's locked on the subject, the autofocus will continue to track the subject even in adverse lighting conditions. And like I said, all the videos reviews that I'd seen it being used, it was very, very sticky. Even when something went behind a tree or something like that, the autofocus still worked very, very well. So, you know, it looks like it's really good in that regards. ISO performance, they're saying is very good. Look, it's not anywhere near where, say, the Sony a7S III is, but it's certainly usable up to what they're saying there, ISO 51200, and it's extended to 204800. It's not going to be like an a7S III, but I don't know. I mean, I'd have to have a look at it to see myself. It might be better than we actually think. Just says too that it's the new sensor combination is also capable of high-speed burst shooting with up to 9 frames per second. It will do in 30 frames per second in either AFS or AFC. Okay, so electronic shutter, you're dealing here with 30 frames per second. So if you're dealing with mechanical shutter, you'll get 9 frames per second, and it's 30 frames per second with electronic. But the reviews I saw, it's nowhere near what like the A1 will give or the A9. There is rolling shutter, so the actual sensor speed is not fast enough at this stage. But you know that probably will change. But that doesn't worry some people. So if you're not worried about that aspect of it for sports and stuff, it's probably going to be fine. Like I said, I'm reading this too with you now. Now this is the really interesting thing because it actually has 6.5 stops of stabilization. Now I've looked online and the stabilization on this camera basically eliminates the need for a gimbal. It is that good. Now I can tell you that this, if it works like it does with the GH5, I used to handhold that and it had a tripod mode in it, which was just nuts. Now this is meant to be even better where you can walk with it. Now there are examples online. This might even show it down below, but the active stabilization of this camera, I think, is going to be like nothing we've seen before. If you want to just handhold something, and that really interests me in the fact that I could be, say, shooting weddings, doing fusion, and then I wouldn't even have to have a gimbal anymore. I could just handhold the camera and walk with it, and the results look incredible. I mean, I'm talking amazing. So you've got 6.5 stops of stabilization. Like all the camera manufacturers sort of give out these figures where they say 5 stops, 6 stops, but usually it's not as good as what they're saying. It's nowhere near as good as what they're saying. Like it's okay if you just want to stand still and sort of move around like this, but if you wanted to walk with it or something like that or have movement in it, that's where these cameras falter, and that's including the Sony. Whereas you would be able to do that with the Panasonic particularly. Like I said, it really eliminates the need for a tripod, for a monopod, unless you're, I'm saying monopod, gimbal, unless you're running or something like that. But it might even be okay in that regard, I'm not sure. Let me know too in the chat, guys, how if I've dropped out at all, because it's still saying warnings over here about the bit rate. I don't know. It's saying it's a 5-axis stabilization, works for both photo and video recording, so you would be able to handhold this. You probably could do long exposures handheld with this system. I'd love to, Panasonic, I mean, they're not going to be watching this, but I mean, I'd love to have a lens of one of these so I could test it. It would be incredible. So I'd particularly like to do things like low light, handheld shooting with long exposures and things like that, because it's got that 5-axis stabilization that is that 6.5 stops. You're probably going to be able to shoot some ridiculous long exposures without having blurring images. So it sounds really good, actually. Let me just see what else they're saying in here as well. Very stable video recording. It optimizes the horizontal, vertical, and rotational correction or rotations. It says it can account for a larger amount of camera shake at approximately 200% compared to conventional image stabilization. So let's have a look at the hardware anyway. So the hardware is 3680K OLED. Well, that's just okay. That's not amazing. It's definitely not anywhere near what the Sony a7S III and the A1 have. And I think the A7R IV has it as well, doesn't it? I always forget. It's 1.52 magnification. The rear LCD is a 3-inch touch display with 1840K dots. Now, I've always found that the Panasonic rear screens are amazing. One thing that, like I said, particularly with Sony, they've been taking so long to, get decent screens on the back. That's starting to change now, which is a good thing. But the rear screen on this will be amazing. The other thing that they do too is the interface is very, very good, like very good. The way that it works. I think it has a full HDMI port. I might be able to see that a little bit down below. It's Gen 3.2 USB 3.2, I should say, which is good. What else? I'm trying to see what the difference is too between the S2 and the S2X. They've also got, they've both got wirelessly transmission as well. Cameras when using multiple cameras, so they will transmit between multiple cameras by the look of it. They're saying there that it uses Wi-Fi 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, along with Bluetooth 5.0. I'm not sure whether that means they'll contact each other as well using that Wi-Fi, so that'd be interesting. Just let me have a look. It's magnesium alloy. Now, the video capture performance, this is what I want to see. It's saying here that the highlighted below, this is the A7, this is the S5 2X, has additional data writing capabilities when compared to the S5 II. Now, I believe the S5 II is going to be released first, and then they're going to bring out the X version a little bit later, I think in a month or so, something like that. It was going to happen, I think. But they're saying both are able to record video at a high level. The two cameras provide 420 10-bit 6K and 5.9K, so it's basically 6K unlimited 422 10-bit C4K 4K recording capability. So it looks like it's able to do 6K. Thanks to new heat dispersion system, I believe there's a fan in this or something that blows the hot air out. I believe that's what I saw. Yeah, it does. It says there it uses a small fan and a high efficiency heat sink. I always found that when I had the Panasonic, that was one of the best things about it, actually. It never, ever overheated. Like today, for instance, is, what are we going to be today? It's 38 degrees Celsius today. So that's probably over 100. Even at those temperatures, it wouldn't overheat. It never overheated. Whereas, if you leave any other cameras out like that, they do have the potential to overheat. Panasonics have been very good on that, so I would believe that you probably won't get overheating problems with these. The cameras also have high frame rate, 4K 48p, and they go up to, if you're dealing with 1080p, 120p as well. Slow and quick motion. What else is down? I'm just trying to see what they're saying here. It's got 14 plus stops with that Vlog Gamma. Now, I think they're giving you that. You used to have to purchase that. I didn't mind that. Like I've said to you before, I wouldn't mind if Sony charged us for firmware updates if what they gave us was a really big firmware update. Like if Sony would only give me something like I'm just trying to think. It's been that long since we've gone out. What was it? What was in the last updates? I can't remember. It'll come to me. Oh, where it focuses in the background and the foreground. Isn't that funny? I can't remember. Someone might help me in the chat. I can't remember. Focus breathing. I knew it'd come to me. It's been so long since I've had a live chat. Yeah, like if Sony, I know some of you are going to freak out, but like if Sony said, guys, would you like us to give you these features like the focus breathing and all these other things as a paid firmware update? I mean, as long as it wasn't ridiculous, I would pay for it. If you don't want it, you don't pay for it. I mean, I'd be happy with that. Well, Panasonic used to do that. They would charge you for the Vlog when I had the GH5, whereas now I believe this is locked in. I think you don't have to pay for this. What else is it saying? Just check down. So it looks like there might be a difference with the LUTs, real-time LUTs that you're dealing with the SS5 II. Oh, here we go. Let's have a look. The difference between the S5 II and the S5 IIX, Panasonic decided to release two versions. So what's the difference? The S5 2X is capable of RAW. Oh, okay. So the other camera's not capable of raw video output and all intra. ProRes recording onto an attached USB. Wow, that's cool. So what you're able to do with this is you can connect a USB drive. I haven't got any around, but oh, yeah. So you connect something like this onto the actual computer using your USB-C, and you'll be able to capture your RAW onto this. Or obviously use something like a Ninja, something like that would work as well. So, you know, that's terrific. It also means you don't have to worry about memory cards and things like that. You know, like they can get very expensive, where those hard drives are really quite cheap. So that's a really nice feature as well. It says those features are included for a slight premium. I believe it's $200 more. I certainly think it would be worth it, though. Anything else they're saying? It also features wired and wireless IP streaming function. Ooh, that's cool. So you're going to be able to use IP streaming for this to go to things like YouTube or Facebook Live, which would be terrific. USB tethering as well. It also features a pure black and white design, while the S2 retains the look of its predecessor. So the difference in price, yeah, it's around $200. And it's also saying that the S5 II will be available in January 23, whereas the S5X will ship in May 23. And as a note, they're saying, in line with previous camera releases, Panasonic says that both cameras will receive a future. Now listen to this, Sony. Listen. If there's one thing that I swear really annoys me about you guys, is the fact that you do not give us things in firmware. Panasonic are amazing at it. Look at what Nikon have done. Sony, honestly, you've had too much of this on your own, and I'm sick of it. Panasonic says that both cameras will receive future firmware updates to enhance the performance of the camera data output using software upgrade key, live view composite, and more. Now, they will give you amazing updates. What have we had with the Sony a7S III? Really nothing. Like if you've bought an A1 and you see that the cheaper cameras that Sony release have all these features that the A1 doesn't have, is absolutely ridiculous. Like focus breathing, for instance, like I was talking about. It really makes me angry. So, you know, that's interesting. So what do I think about this? Well, I think particularly, look, I'm certainly not going to change over, because I'm already invested too much in it. And I'm too old to now change again, and I couldn't be bothered. But, you know, this is going to give competition to Sony. I think the Panasonic cameras particularly are a really good brand. They look after their customers. They give great results for video particularly. Like it's actually beautiful. The results that you get from this are beautiful. The only thing holding the Panasonics back, really, like I said, was the focusing. Now that they've sorted that out, I think, you know, that it's going to be interesting. And the price that we're after this, look, when you're saying that the price of this camera, the high-end one, is going to be $2,200. That's nuts for what you're getting at this. And like I said, you're not going to need a gimbal with this, because the stabilization on this will be as good as using a gimbal, or almost as good as using a gimbal. You probably would only need to use a gimbal if you were doing very extreme things. So I think this is really interesting. I'm just laughing at Photo Ike. Ike. David, you sound like you're trying to get invited to the next Tokyo trip. The Panasonic won't even be watching this, Ike. I have always had a soft spot for Panasonic, though, because I really loved the GH5. Like, when I sold it, I did miss it, but the focus was crap. So, it was, I don't know, but I think it's interesting. And I'd love you to let me know, too. Let me know in the live chat whether you think this is going to push Sony a little bit more. I think it probably will. I think it will probably make it so that they're going to have to give users some more things. Because remember, when we first started this, Sony had it almost to themselves, apart from lenses. But, you know, they were the best autofocus and things like that. Well, it's changing now. I mean, like I said, the autofocus now with all of these manufacturers are very, very similar, like Nikon, Canon, Fuji. All of them are very, very good. G'day, Aaron, too. How are you, mate? Good to see you here. I think you're in New York at the moment, aren't you? So I think this is really interesting. And I think if I was starting out now or young enough to be doing this, I think I wouldn't sell my Sony stuff, but I think I would probably get at least one S5 2X, and I may still do that yet. Sooner or later, I'm going to be in the market to replace my cameras, like, for instance, the A7S III, I love to death. Hopefully, I'll have that for years to come. But my A9 particularly, it's still working and it's fine. But that is a camera now that eventually I'm probably going to have to replace. And I do like the Fusion side of it. And the A9 is amazing for stills, but it's okay for video, but you haven't got 4K 60 in it. So I would like to get another camera down the track where I could do stills and have really good video. And this camera, particularly the S5 2X, it's getting my attention, particularly for the stabilization. And now that you're not going to have that hunting, you know, that sort of blocking that you get like that out of it, I may go for one of those in the future. It'll be interesting to see anyway. So I'm going to move on. Let me know what you think about this anyway in the chat. I'd love to know. Are any of you interested in, say, getting this as well as your Sonys? The only thing is I find sometimes it does get hard, and I had this when I was shooting with the Panasonic and also my Sony cameras. It gets hard to use totally different menus. If you're trying to do things quick, it's tough if you're using separate camera systems like that. So yeah, that is one issue if you're doing that. But let me know in the chat, or let me know down below too what you think about this. Let's keep going. So if we look at the next one, I wanted to just say this is interesting because Petapixel's bold camera predictions for 2023. So rather than, say, just looking at Sony alpha rumors, I thought we could have a look at this together. Let's just go down where it was talking about their predictions. They are saying that the EOS R1 isn't coming for 2023. So they're still not replacing this yet. I'll go more down to what they're saying down here, though. Now, this is interesting, and I think this has been coming for a long time. They're saying Canon, Nikon, Sony, or OM Digital will make a camera equipped with AI-based computational power akin to what we see in smartphones. Now, I think that this may be the perfect thing for Sony to do. Sony are really in the perfect position for this because they make incredible phones, and they're already doing that with their phones. Could you imagine if they used some of their high-end phones, that sort of system, on their cameras, like they put the monitor on? I always say, imagine combining the phone onto the back of the camera, and then you could shoot. This is really interesting. So if Sony could do this, and I think they're probably in the best position to do it because they already have the phones in place. So I do think computational and AI is going to be the way of the future. I know sometimes it's horrible, but I do think, for us, I do think that's the way it's going to go. If you look at how the iPhones work and the Samsung phones, what they do in their computational side of things in the AI is just incredible. And if, like combining multiple shots together almost instantly, and, you can get the slow motion effects like you're sort of seeing there with the waterfall. Well, you can do that without even having it on a tripod. Like, it just does it. Like, it's incredible. And this is going to happen. And like I said, I think Sony may be the first one to do this, and this would be really good. And I hope Sony does do that, actually, because I think if they could combine that is an Xperia. We don't get them here in Australia, so I can't sort of talk much about the Sony phones because they cancel them all here. But I know from what I read from overseas and stuff like that, the Xperia, I think it's Xperia phones, are really incredible. So if they could put that technology into something like a Sony camera, it would be great. They're also saying, and I agree with this as well, that the Sony Alpha A9 III is coming this year, and it's not a successor to the Alpha A1. So this is what interests me too with this, is I'm wondering whether, when they say it's not a competitor to the A1, are they going to hold back on the video side again and keep this more as the stills? I hope that's not the case, but it could be that they don't improve the video or don't give you the video features that the A1 has, because apart from that, what else could it be? Well, let me read what they're saying, because like I said, I haven't read this yet, but it's saying maybe it's not as bold as other predictions, but don't expect an Alpha 1 successor in 2023. Instead, Sony will launch a new Alpha 9 model that will use the same groundbreaking autofocus enhancements found in the A7R5. Well, we know that's a great camera. I mean, it really is a good camera with great autofocus too. But with even more impressive overall performance, since it will use the lower resolution sensor. Okay, so because it's using the lower resolution sensor, it's going to have much better performance, in other words. And I can totally understand that, what they're saying there. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do in video with that camera, and what sort of price factor they put into that as well. Because if it's anywhere near the A1, well then where does that leave the A1? It's I don't know, it's interesting, isn't it, to see what will sort of happen there. What else are they saying? Another major firmware update will make the Nikon Z9 feel new. Sony, listen, read this. Is it any wonder I'm not a Sony ambassador? What else? Let's see what else they're saying down here. Oh, they're just saying Type 1-inch sensors will be commonplace in smartphones. A major camera maker will finally partner with smartphones in some way. Well, like I said, that's the perfect thing for Sony to do that. See, Nikon and Canon and Fuji, all these other ones would have to basically form a partnership with a phone manufacturer, and I'm not sure that a lot of them would like to do that, because a lot of them are selling their phones, particularly because of the camera that's built in it. So I don't know. This is why I think Sony is in the best place to do this. I really do think that's the case. I'm not even showing you the thing. Here I am reading and I'm not showing it. People saying anything? No, probably not. Let me just check too. They're saying here that a major camera... Oh, yeah, that's where they're saying a major camera will finally partner in smartphones. What I was saying about the waterfall before is this type of shot you can do in the iPhone, and it will do it automatically for you. It works so good. What else? Let's keep coming down. This is where it's saying a major camera maker will finally partner with smartphones. I think that has Sony written all over that. But how will they partner with it? It's already owned by Sony. Whether Nikon and Canon do that will be very, very interesting to know. Also, Canon and Nikon will try for a piece of the vlogger pie. Now that, I don't know how long all of these sort of vlogging cameras can go, because the phones are getting so good. It's a really limited marketplace now, I think, with these sort of cameras. I mean, every iPhone generation, every Samsung, thing like that, like I said, the Sony Xperia line, I think the marketplace for these sort of vlogger pies are, I don't know. I think I'd be careful about looking at that aspect of it. They should be concentrating more on their higher-ended cameras, because this, to me, really is going to end up just being done by the phone. Again, you can put in the comments. You might totally disagree with me, and that's fine. Apple's VR headset will let you edit photos and videos in a virtual environment. That's meant to be possibly coming out this year, so that's going to be interesting. And we were going to predict Panasonic would finally add face detection autofocus to its cameras, but given the delay, we missed it. It already happened. Oh, okay, so yeah. Any other things that are sort of interesting? No. All right, let me keep going. Rumours from Sony Alpha rumours here. There's a rumour of a 500mm GM, a Sony speed booster. That's interesting. I used to use the speed booster when I used the Panasonic. It gives you the ability... See, one of the issues with the Micro Four Thirds was you just couldn't get wide enough angle lenses. The speed booster gives you that ability to have wide-angle lenses and also get better depth of field. So it's interesting to say that they're saying Sony are looking at a speed booster as well as a high-end APS-C, the A7000. Come on, Sony, how long have we been talking about that? Let me just see down here what they're saying. APS-C will be pushed big in the near term. Better high-end APS-C glass and higher resolution sensor. The FX30 is recent proof of this. Will Sony release an A6800? Or they've jumped, I love that, they've jumped from the A7000 to the A8000. I love it. So they've gone straight past. It cracks me up. I don't know, but a quasi related to APS-C rumour. What they're saying, second, Sony will release a 500 f4 lens and a speed booster in 2023. Speed booster is really interesting, actually. The new FE lens is coming as a global chip shortage is almost gone. So, like, it's almost gone now, they're saying. So, obviously, we're going to get a lot more technology coming out. They're saying it won't quite be 500mm, but actually 485, but sold as a 500mm. F-stop will be 4.12 and not f4, but this new GM lens will be sold as a 500 f4. I have no idea on pricing, but probably between €7 and €9. Speed booster will concentrate full frame FE down to APS-C side. Speed booster is intended to boost the APS-C camera market. Hopefully the E-mount speed booster will work for all FE lenses. So what they're saying there is that you'll be able to put the speed booster on your APS-C camera and basically you'll get a full frame look. And it is amazing. It works very, very well. Well, particularly the Panasonic lenses, cameras work very, very well. So that's really interesting. I hope that's true. This is interesting too. I must see if I can get one of these from TT Artesian. They've just released, or they're about to release, a 50mm tint lens, tilt shift, and it's actually a 1.4 lens. These are amazing because you can have an awful lot of fun with these. You can see how it sort of moves if you're looking here. Let me just show you. Will it let me do it? No. If you look at it, you can get these great toy effects and things like that, or it straightens buildings and things like that if you're dealing with buildings that are crooked. It'll be manual focus, of course. All the tilt shift lenses are manual focus. I don't think there's any autofocus ones, I don't think. But this will be great. So I'd love to get this and have a play around with this lens. So hopefully I can get that. I just wanted to share that with you because it looks like it's reasonably nice and small. If you look at it here, this is on the A7... I can't see what it is. But it's a 50mm anyway, 1.4 lens. It's going to be $200 United States. So I have to see if I can get one and have a look at it. Sigma 2, this looks pretty good as well. I mean, how blessed are we, honestly? Sigma have announced a new 60 to 600mm FE lens. Now, this is the lens here that you're dealing with. I don't think there's any information about it. There's a lot of reviews there, obviously, but... I grabbed this to show you sort of how it looks. It is a telescopic lens, so it will come out. But what a great focal length, 60 to 600. Now, it's an f4.5 to 6.3. I think that's incredible. I'd love to have a look at that. I have got the Tamron lenses back, actually, because they've sent me also an Android phone. I'm going to be able to look at how you can program the Tamron lenses to do different things. Stay tuned for that because that's going to be really interesting. I have to have that video up in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. Now, I'm not even sure what lenses they've sent me, but I know I've got two of the higher focal length lenses there. I believe you can do things like set focus pulling distances. You can do all this stuff through software now on these lenses, in the Tamron lenses, using that USB-C attachment on the lenses, so stay tuned. But this looks like it's a really nice looking lens. I mean, like I said, great focal length. Is there any mention on price at this stage? About $2,000. Wow. That's great. Anyway, so that was that. All right, so let's go back to here and let me check out if you have any questions that we can look at. Let me go down to where we were. So if you have any questions, guys, fire them away. Roger just said it's early here too, 1:40 in the morning. Tom said, just retired and shut down my photography business after 40 years. Well, congratulations, Tom. Hope you enjoy your retirement. Rob said, the reviews I saw showed wicked distortion at 30 frames per second on fast-moving subjects. Yeah, that is the problem, I think. The issue, remember, is the sensor is probably not going to be fast enough for moving. It will have rolling shutter. I think you're talking about the Panasonic there. It won't be like the Sony cameras. The A7S III is great for rolling shutter. It's got a very, very fast sensor. The A1 would have too. And I suppose even the new A7 V will be good too. So yes, like I said to you in the thing, that if you are dealing with movement in that regard and rolling shutter is an issue, you might want to wait a while to see if they can bring out a little bit of a faster sensor. The Happy Clam said, good thing you might have a gimbal. I certainly have. Gimbal said, sounds good. Everything is working fine. Like I said, I'm recording through the computer this time. Everything's through the computer and I'm using eCam. I've had to send my ATM away for service. Aaron was just saying, hey. Oh, I love it. I love Ike said you sound like you're trying to get invited to Tokyo. Look, if Panasonic want to send me out to Tokyo, yep, I'll go. I certainly would like to try the camera though, Ike. I have more Panasonic cameras than any other manufacturer. I love Pan. Yeah, so do I, Aaron. They're really a nice camera. I try this new camera. I'm not saying I'd buy it though. Yep. I feel exactly the same way. I've been using A6 500 for some time now, and I'm thinking of upgrading to the Pan. Wow, cool. Yeah, I mean, at that price range, though, that's incredible. You're dealing at just over $2,000. Like, that is nuts for that technology that's in that camera. Like I said, even if you wanted to just get one as another camera you could use in your arsenal, it's incredible for the price that they have. Oh, Aaron said he just got home. The Happy Clam said the price is reasonable, but unfortunately I can't afford the Leica lenses. Yeah, but you don't have. I know it'll be interesting to see if you can use. No, you couldn't use the GH5 lenses. I agree, though. Yeah, the Leica lenses are expensive, and that's what you've got to think about. I suppose you could get one all-around lens that you could use. Go for it, David. Get it. Gilbert says if you have a Panasonic system already, it's a good camera, but no one is going to switch from Sony to Panasonic for this. Yeah, I hate to mix different camera manufacturers at the same job. Yeah, it's tough. A smart camera, good move. G'day, Mark. How are you? Happy New Year to all. Happy 2023. Same to you, mate. Rob said, I was on photography workshop in September. Everyone except 3 was shooting Nikon. Wow. Mostly the Z9s. The Z9 is a great camera. It really is a good camera. No cameras, and 3 were Sony users. Of the 3, the other 2 guys both shooting A1, and I have my A7R3. Wow, that's interesting. Aaron, I think I have to add AI to cameras. Yeah, you're saying you think they have to add AI. Yeah, I agree. Gilbert said AI is the future and smart cameras are the way to go. Say no to AI. We do not want Skynet to become self-aware. Mark said A1 V2 might be the go instead of another A9. Yeah, I've just got to see what sort of happens, Mark. It'll be interesting to see what happens by the time I'm ready to... At the moment, like I said, most professionals don't upgrade their cameras anywhere near the amount that amateurs do or hobbyists, because we just don't have that money to do that. We sort of... full-time professionals keep their cameras for a long, long time. You'd be amazed, like I said, the number of people still using Canon 5D Mark IIs and things like that. Because you're relying on it for work solely, and that's where you're getting all of your income from, the people who are running these as business aren't really the market that they're chasing. They're chasing the hobbyist or who have that disposable income, who have that job that can pay for it. They'll have that extra income. So I've got to wait and see where I go. I mean, I seriously may get one of the Panasonics, but I'm not in the market at the moment to change anything. But I certainly won't be switching, but I wouldn't mind to have one of those at that price bracket. The price bracket's the thing that interests me. A new A1 here in Australia is going to be 10 grand, you know. Or if it's an A2, I should say. One of the things that frustrates me so much is the updates. Sony, yeah, the updates are terrible. Really are. Awful. My A7 IV has AFC tracking, and with eye autofocus, why do I need AI? It's more like, it's not really for the focus, Richard, though. It's more for, say, doing things like blending multiple exposures and, you know, say, for instance, if you do what Aaron does, which is a lot of focus stacking, well, you'd be able to do that in the camera. Things like that, you know. It'll blend all your multiple exposures together much more intelligently, you know, and give you things like that. There's a lot that it can do in AI. Apple has announced that iPhones are using Sony sensors. Yeah, well, we sort of always knew that they were anyway. My new iPhone 14 Pro is crazy good. I know, they certainly are. Delta Dave said, my Lumix lenses are like bowling balls. What does that mean, Dave? Your A7000 will come one day. I love it. Mark said, I guess we should not forget the non-traditional camera photography market like DJI, who could come out with a surprise full-frame camera. They could. The other thing, I'm always surprised that Apple have never tried to really get into it as well, because that would be interesting too. I agree with Aaron. I seem to be using the iPhone 14 Pro so much, making even for some pro work. See, that's the thing I do now. Like, if I'm going out, honestly, I just take my iPhone with me. I've got the 14 Pro Max, and that's all I need. You know, look, they are fantastic. The only time they start to come unstuck a little bit is if you're dealing with nighttime. But boy, I tell you what, even the nighttime photos now on these cameras is getting crazy good. It seriously is getting amazing. It's just you haven't got the lenses. You know, you haven't got that beautiful depth of field, but they're getting better with the AI. You know, that depth of field is looking way more realistic than what it used to. And imagine what they're going to be doing in 2 years' time. Like, it's just interesting. Mark said Sony needs a banger lens like a 400 to 800. Yeah, that would be cool. Depending on how fast it is, that would be amazing for air shows and aviation. Oh, you're talking about the Sigma, yeah. That's the other thing too, that with the Tamron, you can change the, and this is what I have to look at when I'm using this new software. When you're using the phone, it's only Android though, unfortunately, not iPhone, so they've had to send me an Android phone as well. But you can set up one of those lenses to just perform for a certain job. So you can change the autofocus to be super fast or super slow, depending on what you wanted to use it for. Like if, you know, you wanted to, say, rack very slowly, you could slow the autofocus right down. If you wanted to, say, use it for an air show, well, then you can speed the lens autofocus right up, I believe. So I can't wait to have a look at that, actually. When photographing small objects close up, a tilt shift lens can be used to get the entire object in focus in one shot. No need to do focus stacking. Oh, cool. Rick said, hey, Dave. G'day, Rick. Hey, Dave. Hi, all. 39 degrees and dreary in Brooklyn, New York. Nice start of the weekend with you, Dave. Yeah, isn't that funny? You're 39. We're also going to be 38 today, but it's 38 Celsius here. I'm not sure what that is in degrees, but it's pretty hot. I have... Mark said, I have the 200 to 600 1.4 converter for birding. Wish for another setup. Wish for another setup. Oh, okay. Online Waiting said, Network, hey, David, hope all is well. It certainly is, mate. How are you? Tom said, I have the Sony a7 III and the a7R, the a7 IV. To avoid rolling shutter, I shoot with mechanical shutter. Yeah. Remember, really, at this stage, the only camera that can do it, or the only two cameras that can really lock it off dead, is the A1 and the A9s. They're the only ones with the shutter fast enough, or I should say, with the shutters that are fast enough to do it. Sensors, I should say, not the shutter. So if that is an issue, I shoot with silent shutter all the time on my A9. You can do it with the other cameras, but there is a risk of it moving. If something moves fast, there is a risk that you will get, you know, the bend or something like that. What's just saying? Today, all camera manufacturers are so good that it doesn't matter what brand you use. Today, it makes much more sense to stick with your brand if you're mirrorless and not digital cameras. Yep. Aaron said he just left New York City. Let me come down here. Rob said, I would love a high-quality camera with small form factor to use when diving. Currently using an A6000 in a, is it Nauticam housing, and it started to show its age on a dive in November. Oh, interesting. It gets, it's not cheap if you're starting to put those decent waterproof housings in there. G'day, Michael. How are you? Happy New Year to you too, mate. Malcolm said, hello from Wicklow Island. How are you, Malcolm? Robert said, I would like if Sony include a GPS receiver in their cameras. Yeah, that also would be good too. They don't, I'm interested that they don't do that. That would be one certain thing that they should add, I agree. That would make landscape photography better if I wanted to go back to that specific location again. It's also nice sometimes to put them into maps and you can see exactly where they are and do that sort of stuff. GPS is really nice. I love that in the iPhones, actually. Rick said, hey, Dave, can you explain the connection between Panasonic and Leica? Are Panasonic cameras almost as good? Well, I don't know. Look, I've never shot Leica, so I can't really sort of comment on that. And to be honest, Rick, I don't even know what the relationship is there. Someone may be able to mention in the chat or down below. I'm not certain, but I know they always have had this relationship that's there, but I wouldn't say, I'd definitely say they wouldn't be as good as a Leica camera. The Leicas have a certain look, from what I believe, that you can sort, if you shoot it, you would know. I've never shot one, so I can't really sort of talk about what that actually is, Rick. Aaron, you moved out of the state, right? Oh, no, he's talking about that. No, Aaron's been going around with quite a lot of travelling lately. Well, that's about it, guys. So it looks like the stream held up okay, which is interesting because I have done everything just from my MacBook. I have recorded in 4K, just to let everyone know, and I'm using my A7S III with the 24GM. So it's a different look this week. Now, I am going to try and come back now weekly, but I won't be back next week because I've got a wedding. So just to let you know, if you're wondering where I am next week, I've had a wedding that I've got to shoot. Well, I haven't got to shoot. I'm looking forward to it, actually. So apart from that, everyone, I'm going to go and have some lunch because it's 12:30 in the afternoon here and it's a beautiful hot day. So I'm going to go and have some lunch and get up to some other things as well. What did Rob say? Panasonic, Leica and Sigma all have settled on a standard for lens mounts. Oh, okay. Yes, that's right. That was true, Rob. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, they all have that same lens mount, which is good. And the Monks Game said, thanks, Dave. So if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Oh, by the way, thank you so much, everyone. I just did click over to 40,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. So, you know, it's been a fair while, but I'm getting up there. So thank you so much for that as well. And apart from that, everyone, have a great day. And I'll see you not next week. I'll see you the week after. Catch you all.
If you're looking for some